Greetings, loved ones. If you have just discovered that your child, or a child you care about, has been sexually abused, it may feel as if your world is falling apart, but I want you to know there is hope. Other caring adults have been where you are, and today we continue our series on caring for sexually abused children. Help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button and hit the notification bell. And please share these messages with others. You could save a life. Today we're going to discuss what to do if your child discloses sexual abuse. We begin with a fast fact. Sexual abuse affects many families. It is estimated that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused. So what is disclosure? Disclosure is when a child tells another person that he or she has been sexually abused, and it can be scary and a difficult process for children. Some children who have been sexually abused may take weeks, months, or even years to fully reveal what was done to them. Many children never tell anybody about the abuse. In general, girls are more likely to disclose than boys. School-age children tend to tell a caregiver. Adolescents are more likely to tell friends, and very young children tend to accidentally reveal abuse because they don't have as much understanding of what occurred or the words to explain it. Children are often reluctant to talk about being sexually abused. And some of the reasons for this reluctance may include fear that the abuser may hurt them or their families, fear that they may not be believed or will be blamed or will get into trouble, or they'll worry that their parents will be upset or angry. They may fear that disclosing will disrupt the family, especially if the aggressor is a family member or friend. And they fear that if they tell, they will be taken away and separated from their family. Disclosure can be particularly difficult for younger children who have limited language and developmental abilities. If the child does not understand that the abuse was wrong, this may also lead to the child not to tell. Another fast fact. In studies of adults who were sexually abused as children, 2 out of 3 said they never told anybody about the abuse during their childhood. So what should you do if you suspect your child has been sexually abused? If you think your child may have been sexually abused, it is okay to talk to your child about it. You may first want to access some resources to learn about child sexual abuse, like looking at our videos or look at the fact sheet for the National Child Traumatic Stress Network's Child Abuse Fact Sheet. And that is at www.nctsn.org. We're going to include that link in the description of the video. It is important to remain calm in speaking to children who have been sexually abused. And you can ask children directly if anyone has touched their bodies in a way that they didn't like or has forced them to do things they didn't want to do. If you're concerned about talking to your child about abuse, you might want to seek help from your child's pediatrician or a mental health provider who is knowledgeable about child sexual abuse. Okay, so the big question. What should I do if my child discloses sexual abuse? Listen, your reaction to the disclosure will have a big effect on how your child deals with the trauma of sexual abuse. Children whose parents or caregivers are supportive, they heal more quickly from the abuse. So to be supportive, it is really important to stay calm. Hearing that your child has been abused can bring up powerful emotions. But if you become upset or angry or out of control, this will only make it more difficult for your child to disclose. Second thing is, believe your child. I'm going to repeat that. Believe your child. I'm going to repeat that again. Believe your child. And the reason I repeat that is because so many parents that I have encountered do not believe their child. Let your child know that he or she is not to blame for what happened. And praise your child for being brave and for talking about the sexual abuse. Another thing you can do is to protect your child by getting him or her away from the abuser and immediately reporting the abuse to local authorities. If you're not sure who to contact, you can call the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4-CHILD. That's 1-800-422-4453, or www.childhelp.org/get/help, or for immediate help, call 911. This information we're going to put in the description. So another thing you can do to support your child is get help. In addition to getting medical care to address any physical damage your child may have suffered, including sexually transmitted diseases, it is important that your child have an opportunity to talk with a mental health professional who specializes in child sexual abuse. Therapy has been shown to successfully reduce distress in families and the effects of sexual abuse on children. And many communities have local children's advocacy centers that offer coordinated support and services to victims of child abuse, including sexual abuse. For a state-by-state listing of accredited CACs, visit the website of the National Children's Alliance, and again, we're going to have it up on the screen and we're going to put it in the description. Another thing you can do is reassure your child that he or she is loved, accepted, and is an important family member. Don't make promises you can't keep, such as saying you won't tell anyone about the abuse. But let your child know that you will do everything in your power to protect him or her from harm. Another thing you can do is keep your child informed about what will happen next, particularly regarding legal actions. So maybe you've heard that some children who disclose sexual abuse later take it back. Does this mean they were lying? No. In fact, attempting to take it all back, also known as recantation, is common among children who disclose sexual abuse. Most children who recant are telling the truth when they originally disclose, but may later have mixed feelings about their abuser and about what has happened because of the disclosure. Some children have been sworn to secrecy by the abuser and are trying to protect the secret by taking it back. Some children are dealing with issues of denial and are having a difficult time accepting the sexual abuse. And in some families, the child, I hate this, in some families, the child is pressured to recant because the disclosure has disrupted family relationships. A delay in the prosecution of the aggressor may also lead a child to recant to avoid further distressing involvement in the legal process. And a very small percentage of children recant because they actually did make a false statement. But that is very, very small. And I want to insert here, usually there's evidence on the child's body that it's true. So a forensic exam done by the authorities can pretty much verify if certain parts of sexual abuse actually did occur. I understand that the idea that something like this could happen to your child is completely overwhelming. So what can you do to cope with your own feelings? If you suspect that your child has been abused, try to get support by talking to someone else before talking to your child about the sexual abuse. If your child has already disclosed the abuse, hearing the details may be profoundly upsetting to you, particularly if the abuser is someone you know and thought you could trust. Your feelings, they may range from denial, anger, and sadness to frustration and, yes, helplessness. If you yourself are a survivor of child sexual abuse, the discovery that your child has been abused, this may also bring up your own painful and unresolved feelings and memories. Getting help for yourself is an important part of being able to get help and support your child. You can contact the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, RAINN, at 1-800-656-HOPE, or RAINN, that's with two N's, www.rainn.org, for help finding support in your area. The U.S. Department of Justice's Office for Victims of Crime has resources and a web forum to communicate with others on topics such as child abuse, victims' rights, court preparation, and more. And you can check out some of our other videos too. These other resources will be in the description. According to the CDC, over half of all the children in the world, and this really blows my mind, that's 1 billion children ages 2 to 17 experience violence every year. The question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. Micah 6:8 says, He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. If you're suffering violence, I want you to know that there is a way out. I want you to know it's not your fault. Abuse is not love. And most of all, you are not alone. If you are suffering violence, please reach out to someone today. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child or other person suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we will continue talking about how to care for sexually abused children. Until then, God bless you.